Today is Friday, April 2nd. Welcome to this edition of Nevada County Now. Today's episode we're talking VMT, youth art, reopening schools, and more. This episode is brought to you in part by Stiefel Financial, and also the generous donations of viewers like you. Thank you. Hello and welcome to Nevada County Now. I'm your host, Cole Pettit. We've seen an increase of 91 COVID-19 cases since last week, bringing our total to 4,294 confirmed cases. 110 cases are currently active with 4 hospitalizations, and the death toll remains at 74. According to the state's data, our adjusted case rate dropped to 6.9, and our test positivity rate is at 2.4%. We remain in the red tier for now. For more on the current COVID and vaccine situation, let's hear once again from Taylor Wolf, Public Information Officer for the County of Nevada. Thanks for joining us again, Taylor.
Thanks so much for the opportunity, Cole.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of new news in the COVID realm. What have you got for us today?
Yeah, so, I think the big news of the week is vaccinations, and public health is moving forward with opening it up to 16 plus for our local public health clinics. Really what that means is not necessarily all clinics in Nevada County. We do have many vaccine partners from our hospitals to local healthcare providers who all provide vaccines to the community. But primarily our public health clinic is that Whispering Pines clinic that you would register for appointments on My Turn. So as we do every Friday, we're releasing another batch of appointments. Today at noon, we like to recommend to people if they're looking to get their vaccine ASAP, make an appointment to get your appointment. Make sure you're logging in to myturn.ca.gov at noon every Friday once you become eligible. And again, this week marks a milestone where everyone is eligible. The other thing that is unique about our Whispering Pines clinic is it is a Pfizer clinic, and the Pfizer vaccine is the only vaccine that has been approved for minors ages 16 and 17. So those who are 16 and 17 actually with their parent guardian can go on and actually register and sign them up for a vaccine at our Whispering Pines clinic because it is that Pfizer vaccine. I think there is a certain level of concern, especially after we just made it into the red tier, starting to open up that indoor capacity for businesses like gyms or restaurants. I mean, we spent almost 20 weeks in that purple tier or more restrictive tiers with the stay-at-home order. So that was really a monumental moment. But this last week, we have seen an increase in transmission again. So, I think the news with vaccines is really exciting. It's the light at the end of the tunnel. We've experienced some good weather here recently, which is great too. But it's easy to see why people would maybe start relaxing on those non-pharmaceutical interventions. And those are the masking, the social distancing, and the avoiding large gatherings. So yes, this last week, we have seen an increase in transmission. I think Monday, which looks over 3 days. So that's Saturday, Sunday, Monday. We had about 30 new cases. And then the following days of the week, we've had 9 new cases, 16. I think yesterday was 13 Thursday. So definitely a higher level of transmission. If people recall the state's tier system, with vaccines increasing in communities, they are making it easier to move through the tiers. And that was the reason we were able to move into the red tier. But more than 10 average daily cases moves us back into the purple tier. So we really want to encourage people, especially coming up on a holiday this weekend that normally people might gather with family or friends, just to continue to be cautious, wear your mask, avoid large gatherings, try to make them small. And we're not totally out of the woods yet. It is a race against some of the variants that we're seeing too to get people vaccinated. So we all know what to do. It's masking, social distancing, avoiding those large gatherings, and now getting vaccinated as soon as possible. And truly, all the vaccines are safe and very effective. The best vaccine is the vaccine made available to you. things were pretty steady with the guidance in the tier system as we're getting more vaccines out into the community. Things are changing a little bit. Partners are getting onboarded to My Turn, more vaccine appointments are becoming available. And also we're seeing those changes to this tier system, not with what we just talked about, but new guidance coming out too. So over the last couple of weeks, we've talked about new outdoor live event guidance that just went into effect April 1st, so Thursday this week. So it's really exciting to see things starting to open up, this new guidance coming out. All good news, but still need to stay diligent as well and stay informed. So just continue to encourage people to stick with us and let's get through this together.
Thanks, Taylor. Spring break for most students in Nevada County is starting to wind down, and with the improving COVID numbers, many districts have decided to make some changes to instruction when they return. I caught up with Scott Lay, Nevada County Superintendent of Schools, to get some more details. Thanks for joining us again, Scott.
Glad to be here, Cole. It's good Nevada County that we're in the red tier now, so we should have better news than we've been bringing in the past. So that's exciting.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely moving in the right direction.
Yes.
And speaking of that, there's some news with the schools in terms of, you guys are just getting ready to go into spring break now.
Going into spring break. And of course, last weekend, the rules of engagement changed again, as they usually change on a Friday afternoon. However, this time we caught wind of it Friday afternoon and really officially changed over the weekend. But that changed just between the 4 to 6 feet of spacing, 6 feet being the optimal, 4 feet being what you could do if you had to, down to 3 feet. And that was based on a study that was done out of Massachusetts for a large school district that had half their schools at 3 feet and half at 6. And they found out there was no statistical difference in any spread or transmission of COVID. And so with that, and being such a large test group, the California and most other states as well went to 3 feet. So that's exciting. 3 feet is basically a normal classroom when you think about it. If you look, it's from student to student, and most of the kids are 3 feet apart. It's rare that they're closer than 3 feet. So great news there. There's some, exceptions to it. You still need to wear masks. People are like, well, are we done with masks? No, we're not done with masks. We're probably looking at masks, at the start of school next year and into the school year, but you never know. Things change quickly. And you also, when the kids are eating lunch, they do need to be 6 feet apart when they take their masks off. So we'll need some creative lunchtime configurations out there with, luckily the weather's good right now. It should be warming up all the time. So we'll have kids outside. So what we've got 4 districts that when they return on either Monday, April 5th or on Tuesday, April 6th, depending on their school calendar, will be coming back 5 days a week. And those districts are Chicago Park, Clear Creek, Penn Valley, and Pleasant Ridge. With Penn Valley, their plan is to come back in a pre-pandemic schedule. They will be back full day, 5 days, full day. The other 3 districts currently are on a modified schedule from the last time I saw what they were doing. And that's to accommodate the handful of kids that are still on distance learning. So in some schools, it's only 1 or 2 kids per classroom. Other school districts, it's about 20%. We've been able to also bring sports back with distancing. That could be a little tougher. We've had some football's been tough, but the poor guys, they've been on again, off again. Quarantine, not quarantine, but coaches are doing a great job. The athletic directors are doing a great job. Trying to reintroduce all the sports before the end of the year, for shortened seasons, but great for the student athletes. Big thing also we're working on is what does graduation look like? So we're all looking at in-person graduation in some capacity, trying to plan for it being a possible orange tier, red tier, or purple tier. We just don't know what we're going to be in. So trying to make foolproof plans so there's some type of in-person that no matter where we end up on this colored tier system, it won't change. I've been out to a few school sites listening to what they're planning, and it'll be exciting. It'll be great for the kids, how they can bring them back, especially, we're looking at our 8th graders or seniors.
Then we're totally done with distance learning, right? We're never going back, never going to do any of that again.
I think we'll never say never to anything. There's been some real positives with distance learning. I mean, clearly in the pandemic, there's far more negatives, but in each crisis, you learn things. There has been, and there are lessons that each district has learned in distance learning, where for some classes and situations, it actually could work better. So it's certainly something we're not going to throw out. When students go away on independent study, for example, they would get packets. Well, now maybe there's the opportunity where they could actually then zoom into the classrooms now that we have the technology to not miss it. If a student's out sick, they may not miss a day of instruction because, boy, we can just set that right back up and there they are. So those are just a couple examples. But I think distance learning in some capacity will be here to stay for a certain segment of our populations. We're in red. I think we'd all like to be in yellow or the yet to be named color of green. That's not on anybody's map yet. That's always our goal. But it just feels, I don't know whether it's spring is here, the sun's out again, it's warming up. But we've been able to get our teachers vaccinated. Now general public's getting vaccinated. This is for anybody who wants to be vaccinated. Of course, it's not mandatory, but we're seeing a real positive feelings out there. People are really starting to feel like we're headed in the right direction, back to normal. We just need to make sure that we don't take that backward step like we did, Thanksgiving time. But it's good. It's good. I was out at Chicago Park School today. They have about 90% of their kids there. I got to go in and take part in a 7th grade debate. That was fun. See a 4th grade art project. Kindergartners drawing chameleons outside. I got to see their garden. So it feels good. It feels like we're getting back to our where we should be.
Thanks, Scott. March was Youth Art Month here in Nevada County, and one of the ways it was celebrated was with the Young at Art student display of visual arts, sponsored by the Nevada County Superintendent of Schools. For more, we'll turn it over to Sonora Slater.
Thanks, Cole. With COVID-19 restrictions reducing the ability to hold indoor gatherings, it's probably been quite a while since most of us have been able to stroll through an art gallery and appreciate a display of creativity. For anyone who's been missing this, you might be excited to hear that the annual Young at Art student display Visual Arts is now open for public viewing. According to a press release from the Nevada County Superintendent of Schools office, who helped to sponsor the display alongside the County of Nevada and the Nevada County Arts Council, it's part of a national program that recognizes March as Youth Art Month, meant to serve as a reminder of the value of the arts in education. The Young at Art display represents art from schools all throughout the county, and it's set up at the Rood Center, located at 950 Maidu Avenue in Nevada City. It is open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. through 5 p.m., and the student artwork will be available for viewing until May 21st. Safety precautions are being taken. Masks and physical distancing are required. The press release emphasized that this is an opportunity to celebrate the creativity both of Nevada County students and of our teachers and staff, especially as several of the art projects were worked on during times of distance learning. This year, the display includes several art projects that were integrated with other core subject areas, such as world language and social studies. The reasoning for this integration of the arts with other aspects of school was explained in the press release, as it said that arts experiences build cognitive, emotional, and artistic pathways and develop skills in communication, critical thinking, imagination, and creativity. The artists were also encouraged to include a short statement with their piece explaining the project. Superintendent of Schools Scott Lay talked about the annual event and how it looks different this year. Usually I go over there, dish out ice cream for the kids and their families. They get to see their art, but we can't do that, he said. Obviously, there are COVID protocols in place, but we were still able to hang the art there. I highly recommend going to see it. Great art by kids in our county. We kept art going strong during the pandemic, and it was great to be able to showcase that. If you are unable to go see the gallery in person, there is a slideshow of photographs of the display online. A link to this slideshow is available on the NCSOS Facebook page in a recent post. Back to you, Cole.
Thanks, Sonora. In our last segment, our political correspondent, Mary Jane Hunegard, told us about bike lanes and some of the ways those projects are being funded. This week, she's delving a bit further into one of those, VMT, or Vehicle Miles Traveled. Take it away, Mary Jane.
Hello, Nevada County. I'm Mary Jane, a fellow citizen of this fair county and NCN's political correspondent. In my last segment, which touched on bike lanes, I mentioned Senate Bill 743. This bill was passed in 2013 to promote public health through active transportation and, as I'll discuss today, to manage traffic congestion and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Remember when Ronald Reagan was governor of California? I don't because I wasn't born yet, but anyway, in 1970, Reagan signed into law a statute called the California Environmental Quality Act, commonly known as CEQA. CEQA, C-E-Q-A, required and still requires that any proposed development project include an analysis of any environmental impacts of said projects and the adoption of all feasible measures to mitigate the environmental impacts. Up until recently, for the transportation part of CEQA guidelines, jurisdictions would do a level of service or LOS analysis for transportation impacts by evaluating whether a project would likely cause delays at intersections and congestion on nearby highway segments over a defined threshold. Enter SB 743. It has changed the way we need to approach CEQA traffic analysis. The idea is to go beyond traffic flow, to discourage sprawl, to encourage infill development, that is developing in already developed areas, and ultimately to reduce the impact of traffic on the environment and human health. Which brings us to the new standard. Now, instead of the LOS analysis for CEQA, the new acronym is VMT, or Vehicle Miles Traveled. VMT is calculated per person in a motor vehicle for any given trip from point A to point B. So instead of needing to figure out how to go with the flow, land developers must consider how they can reduce VMT for any project. VMT will likely impact unincorporated areas more than our cities because, if you think about it, it discourages development out there. If you build a new subdivision 20 miles from where we work, shop, and play, that's a lot of vehicle miles that the residents will be traveling in their cars on the regular. The hope then is to drive, no pun intended, developers to look at doing mixed-use type developments so people don't have to motor as much. In the meantime, for projects closer to town, VMT can be mitigated through pedestrian and bike infrastructure. Obviously, it's harder to reduce VMT in a rural region like ours. Mixed use isn't always realistic. I mean, can you imagine a Burgers and Cream in Morgan Ranch? And other VMT reduction measures that are available to long drive type areas near urban centers aren't feasible in rural settings. Carpool lanes and toll lanes with congestion pricing wouldn't really do much here. That said, we're working through the processes to roll out VMT traffic study guidelines locally and see what we can do. Grass Valley and Truckee adopted their VMT standards in mid-2020, followed by Nevada County for the unincorporated areas. And the Nevada City Council approved a motion to adopt VMT standards at its February 24th meeting. Since it's so new for us, it remains to be seen how this new CEQA analysis method will impact our community and our developers. If the VMT topic intrigues you and you want to know more, visit the Nevada County Transportation Commission's website, nctc.ca.gov, where you will find everything you ever wanted to know about VMT. Thank you to the following people for their input on both this segment and the last segment, which both dealt with different angles of SB 743. Tim Kieser, Grass Valley City Manager, Dwayne Strasser, Vice Mayor, Nevada City, who also sits on the NCTC, Tricia Tillotson, Director of Public Works, Nevada County, and NCTC Executive Director Mike Woodman. If you have a question about politics you'd like me to try my best to answer, email it to me at ncnpolitics@gmail.com, and I may use it as the topic of an upcoming segment. It has been my privilege to bring you a brief piece on a local political issue. See you again in 2 weeks, same time, same place. I'll be discussing the California Peace Budget Resolution. And remember, when it comes to politics, if you're not at the table, you might be on the menu. Thanks for staying informed, Nevada County.
Thanks, Mary Jane. If you're looking for a way to get active and support the local community, the Joni Bumpus Daffodil Run is currently taking place. This year the event is virtual and began yesterday, April 1st, and runs until April 11th. I spoke to race director Gene Gilligan to find out more about this event.
A lot of the virtual runs have been, okay, pay your money, we'll maybe send you a number and a t-shirt, and you can run wherever you want. You can run around your living room, on the deck outside, or your favorite running course, and then send us your time. And I thought, well, there's nothing happening in Penn Valley. The rodeo has been canceled. The rodeo parade has been canceled. The Daffodil Run's been canceled. But there's still things to do in Penn Valley. Western Gateway Park, there's little restaurants. But there is a great bike path on Penn Valley Drive that starts in the, quote, downtown part near the hardware store and the little shopping center. And it goes along Penn Valley Drive out to the park and ride.
And you said at this point there's about 90 people registered. How does that compare to a normal year?
Well, normally, we would have a 5K and a 10K, and then we would have a 5K walk, and then we usually do a free kids run. And of course, there's no shirts and whatnot, but they do get medals and so on and so forth. So we were averaging around 350, 375 participants in those 4 events. Yeah. Where this year we're just doing the 5K and 10K run, but there are folks that are not runners, and we've just sort of encouraged them to do the 5K walk. So yeah, I think I looked this morning, it was like 92.
So how can people find out more or sign up if they're interested?
Yeah, well, we have a website. It's Daffodil Run PV, as in Penn Valley.com, and just go to that, and it'll most people are pretty suave about the websites and whatnot, and you just go to registration, and then it'll ask you your name and age and t-shirt size and that sort of stuff.
For the money that people are paying for this run, what organizations does it benefit?
Well, it goes directly to the schools. There's 3 schools that we try to support: Ready Spring School in Penn Valley, I think it's Woolman Ranch, and Clear Creek, which is actually just outside of Penn Valley. So those are the 3 schools that we try to support. We also give a $500 scholarship to a graduating senior from Nevada Union who's going on to college. Plus, we support the Chamber, the Penn Valley Lions, and the Penn Valley Rotary.
And are there some sponsors that you'd like to share by name?
Well, Tri-Counties Bank is our big sponsor. Penn Valley Mini Storage, the Penn Valley Veterinary Associates. The hardware store has always been a supporter of the True Value Hardware in Penn Valley. Kind of threw me there. Those 3 or 4 are probably the big ones. But, like I was saying, people are not hesitant to step up and help, whether it's physically participating or giving money. So,
thank you for taking the time to talk with us today, Gene.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for reaching out to me, Cole. And it's great to see you. And I hope we can get together soon.
Thanks, Gene. The NorCal Fringe Festival, formerly known as the Nugget Fringe Festival, begins tomorrow with free and virtual performances over the next 2 weekends. We at Nevada County Media are delighted to be able to help facilitate this project, which highlights both local performers and out-of-the-area artists. Join us on the weekends of April 3rd and 4th, and on April 10th and 11th, either on our website, nevadacountymedia.org, or YouTube, for all the fun. There will be a wide variety of performances ranging from funny to serious, and later in the evening, some more adult-themed content. Admission is free, though donations are encouraged, and all contributions will be split between the performers. For more information and to see the full schedule of performances, visit norcalfringe.org. We'll leave you tonight with a brief preview from this event. And remember, stay safe, take care of each other. We'll see you next week.